Yeah, well, it's interesting that you pick up on that because some of the conversations I remember having in the real world when we were allowed out there was that a lot of people talking in the backstage of a lot of the conferences. They were talking about how it has cool to become green. It has become cool to become green, but at the same time, people are really talking about where the green energy is coming from. So they just want a seal of approval that they are green, but they don't really provide information on how green is your green. And it turns out that a lot of the times, the energy that you take from the grid, it's not as green as you might portray in your data center. Is that still happening a lot today?
Yeah, it is, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's, funny enough, we're just thinking about the fact that, that some of the hyperscalers now are really trying hard to source green energy with on-site generation from big solar farms and battery solutions and wind turbine solutions. But a lot of the big data centers are still being built in, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, London, and Dublin, where they all have power issues, and none of them are 100% green. In fact, they say that there's 1,200 megawatts of planned data centers to be built in the next 3 years in those cities. So, we're still a long way from being a green industry in that respect, and there's not much we can do about it. When you build a data center in Frankfurt or London, they just aren't running on green power.
Yeah, well, that will start involving a lot more parties, a lot more hands will need to come into the game. But I mean, you mentioned 1,000 megawatts across those 4 big markets, or 5 if we include Dublin as well.
Yes, I forgot Dublin.
Yeah, well, now it has to be the big 5. But then, I mean, we also have about another 1,000 coming between Portugal and Moscow, with several other projects in several countries, especially Spain, Poland, Italy. We just had a few acquisitions in Italy as well. I mean, where do you see the green data center market going, really? And what lessons can colocation providers take away from the hyperscalers? Because they have been pioneers with a lot of things that are happening. The Nordics have been huge pioneers as well, especially with heat reuse and all this sort of stuff. But what lessons do you think these companies need to take now to put into action? Because this is not something that you think about in 5-10 years' time. You need to think about it now. Absolutely.
I think one of the big things would be investing on-site generation. Big like Switch did, and like we're offering in the UK.